Hello everyone, welcome to another live stream of Cloud with Chris. You're with me, Chris Reddington, and you know the deal. Here we talk about all things cloud. And we're going to be talking about something a little different today. We're going to be talking about Pulumi. We're going to be talking about Go or Golang and how we deploy to Azure. This is one of those where I'm making it up as I go along, if I'm really being honest. A bit like Tool Up Tuesdays, going in and just kind of showing the learning process. I've been learning a bit of Go over the past few weeks, been getting a bit of a feeling for the language. I've heard a lot about Pulumi, and I haven't got hands-on with Pulumi. It's been on my list for a long time. So I figured, why not actually get started and do some learning in the open? And we can go ahead and learn together here, folks. So you know the deal. If you like what we're doing here, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe, and do whatever you want to do to show your support there. It's greatly appreciated. So without further ado then, let's go and kick off. So Pulumi. For those of you who maybe aren't aware of what Pulumi is a really a framework or a way of working with infrastructure as code where you can use the code language, whichever programming framework you're used to go and actually build that infrastructure as code. So it's different from like ARM templates or Bicep or Terraform because you're not learning a completely new language. Instead, you are going ahead and using the language that you already know and love. So there's a reduced barrier in terms of learning there, which is good. So that is really kind of the big deal around it and why it's particularly interesting. So let me go ahead here and just jump across to some of the docs. I think that's a good place for us to get started because I haven't set up Pulumi on my machine at all. I haven't done anything apart from getting the browser set up, getting Visual Studio Code set up as well. So we really are going from scratch. So let's take a look and see what's going on. So we want to get started with Pulumi on Azure. And before you begin, Pulumi's infrastructure as code SDK helps you create, deploy, and manage Microsoft Azure containers, serverless functions, and infrastructure using programming languages like these. And of course, we're going to be using Go, so that is good for us. So let's go ahead then and start going through this. So it looks like we've got a couple of options here in terms of using different different operating systems there, and just bear with me whilst I get some background music for us actually, just to make it a little more ambient, let's say. So let's do this. And let's do that. There we go. Now, hopefully that's a bit better. Bit of background music for us. There we go. So, as I was saying, we have a few different operating systems, of course. We can use that with Mac OS, Windows, and Linux. I am on my PC today. I'm not on my Mac, so I will be going with potentially Windows, or maybe Windows subsystem for Linux. I do like using WSL, so I might actually opt for that. And then you can choose which language you're going to go for as well. I don't remember selecting Go, so maybe the Plummy gods are watching here. But right, let's go ahead first. Let's get Pulumi set up. So we're going to go across to VS Code. We'll go and open up a new terminal here. And we're just going to go ahead. Oh, and we probably should stay in WSL to be fair. And just in case you're wondering what I'm doing there or what on earth I'm changing, on the bottom left hand corner I've got a few different options here on how I can work with Visual Studio Code. I can work with remote containers, I can work with a secure what was it, secure shell, and I can also work with Windows Subsystem for Linux as well. So still use Visual Studio Code as if it's on my local machine, but connect to that area instead. So that's what I'm doing here. And you can see now on the bottom left, I've got that WSL Ubuntu bit set up there as well. So that's all good. So let's go ahead now and run that in the terminal. We're going to go ahead and install Pulumi. Now, of course, the usual health and safety notice here at this point is have a look at what those scripts are before you actually go and run them. You don't want to just blindly run these scripts. I know I have in this instance, but you know, anything you read on the internet could be bad potentially, so remember. Good, so let's jump across and take a look. So Pulumi requires Go 1.16 or later, so you need to install Go first, which is good because I have Go 1.18.1 already installed, so we are good to go. There we go, the pun is there. So let's see then. Configure Pulumi to access your Microsoft Azure account. Pulumi relies on the Azure SDK to authenticate requests from your computer. Okay. Cool. So, I believe that I am already logged in, which I am, so that's all good. So at this point, it looks like we're ready to get going. Alright, so what we can do then, from within your Go path, you can make a quick start and CD into that. From within your Go path. I wonder why specifically there. I'm going to deliberately go off track already. I know it didn't take long to go and do that, but I'm going to do that now here anyway. So we are in my home directory. I'm going to go and type something like Pulumi Go. So we'll go to that. And let's see here. This is where I know I need a third screen, because it would have been great to have the docs on one screen, VS Code on another, and then all of the windows that I got open for watching all the various streams. So I need to invest in more screens is what I'm thinking here. But anyway, right, Azure-Go. So I'm just gonna Plummy, what was it? Pulumi new. First Azure Go. I'm gonna call it because hopefully we'll make a few. Now we've already hit our first issue here. It looks like when the Pulumi script ran, I probably missed something. Please restart your shell or add that to your path. Right, so I need to kill that terminal, create a new one, and then hopefully, there we go, better. So let's jump back. Oh, I didn't create that yet, okay. Oh no, because that was the project, wasn't it? So let's try that out. Enter your access token from... Okay, so it looks like we will need to log into the Plummy service. Yes, works in tandem in order to deliver a reliable experience. It's free for individual use. Okay, so it looks like we need to go and sign up for something here as well. So let's go and click into that and see what's going on there. And hey Josh, hey Cloud Management Community, thanks for joining in this evening. So here we go, we've got a few options that we can sign in with. I'm going to go and sign in with GitHub. And I'm just going to give it access to my account for now. Excuse me. Right, so here we go. Now, of course, I'm not going to generate a personal access token on screen. I will go and do that on another window here a sec. But let's see what I actually need to do here. So it looks like... okay. So you can either pass the token in or you can log in using a browser. So let me hit enter there. And we'll just do the login that way. There we go. Okay. So welcome to Pulumi. Pulumi helps you create, deploy, and manage your infrastructure on any cloud using your favorite language. You can get started today. Tip of the day, resources you create with Plummy are given unique names, a randomly generated suffix by default. To learn more about auto-naming or customizing resource names, see this doc. Okay, so template first Azure Go not found. Interesting. So I think I made a false assumption there already. It looks as though Azure-Go is actually a template to create a project. So let me go and create that again here, and you'll see this is probably what we'll do quite a lot of the way through here. This is how I learn, is kind of going off the beaten path, trying things, learning how things work. So stick with me here, folks. So let's try that again. Right, project name. Okay, this command will walk you through creating a new, enter a value or leave blank to accept the default. So I'm just going to try again with something like first Azure Go. My first Azure Golang Pulumi deployments. Oops. Pulumi deployments. Sure, let's do it for dev. We'll go for West Europe. Interesting. So it looks like it's downloading a load of Go modules for us there. So I actually wrote a bit of a blog post on that just the other day. So if you're interested, let me bring that up on screen actually. So here we go. I talk about how I've gone ahead and set up my Go development environment with Visual Studio Code and Windows Subsystem for Linux. So if that's something you're interested in, take a look at that, because I talk a little bit in here about modules here. So effectively, if you've used .NET or similar, think of them a bit like your NuGet packages in a nutshell. So that's what it did there. It created a load of different pieces there for us. So I'm going to open that up in code here. There we go. So we can see we've got our main.go. That's our main entry point to our file. Looks like we've got a couple of YAML files going on here. And then this go.mod is what I mentioned earlier, this kind of module concept within Go. So this is our definition of the module. We're saying we need at least Go 1.16, and then these are the SDKs or the other modules which are required, and that's actually pulled in because of the imports statements over here. So this is a bit like your CS_proj file where it has all of your dependencies and the other NuGet packages that you need to go and bring in there. So let's jump back to Pulumi, I think, and see what's next. So yeah, fine. You can then change the region by using Pulumi config set. Okay. So it looks like then I'm supposing, yep, that you can change the configuration in your YAML files here. So it looks like you've got your Pulumi YAML file, which is, I suppose, your definition for the overall project, and then a per environment YAML file then as well. I'm suspecting the naming convention there is just Pulumi dot and then the environment name, but I'm sure we will have a go at breaking that a little bit later and trying that out. So, review the new project. Pulumi YAML defines the project. Pulumi dev YAML contains a configuration value for the stack you initialized, and main.go is the Pulumi program that defines your stack resources. Let's examine it. So I'm going to look at this back in VS Code for a minute, just because I prefer VS Code really. So we have our main function. So one of the things to know about Go is if you have your main package and a main function, that is effectively your entry point into your Go app. So consider that like the startup of your executable there. So what it's doing is it's using this Pulumi import here, and it's running this function with a Pulumi context, and that's a reference to the Pulumi context there. So yeah, it's going to be passing that in from somewhere, I guess. We're dereferencing that there. We're going to get a resource group. We're going to create a new one, and we're just going to call it resource group because it looks like we've got a function that just takes in the name of a resource group there. Common Go pattern here, try and limit using any else statements. That's something I learned over the last week actually. There's a really nice design approach within Go to try and minimize the complexity of what you're reading, so really optimize for people reading the language and reading the code you're writing. So whereas you might code something like if this else this, maybe you need to flip the logic and have the if statement to give the error and then just continue the code path afterwards, and it makes this really nice readable code actually. Really nice idea there. So return the error if we do get an error. Create an Azure resource, so it's going to create a storage account. We're passing in that context from above, calling that storage account SA. Yeah, we're just calling it SA. And then we are passing in a value of some kind of arguments by the looks of it. Yep, exactly. We got that again in there. So we're going to pass it to the resource group name of resource group.name, what we created a moment ago. Interesting that it's not strongly typed, but I suppose that makes some sense. Does it make some sense? I guess you could do something like what was it here? Let's see. Oops. Bear with me. Right, so our context is that, name is that, arguments, options, etc. And then we get returned a new resource group. I'm just realizing, so that's where resources comes from. Right, got it. So resources.resource group. And then if we have error as error like that, does that work? No. Never mind. For now, we'll leave it as is. I'll go and explore that a bit later. Right, so we're passing in our arguments. We're passing in the resource group name. We're passing in then a SKU, which is an object. Again, it's quite nice how this works. It's saying we're passing in this type of object, SKU args, and we're going to pass in this Pulumi.string. Again, looks like it's just a type there declared in Pulumi as a package. And we're going for standard LRS. So kind Pulumi string storage v2. If there's an error, return that. And then export the primary key of the storage account. So we're... Well, this looks a bit funky and interesting. So from the context, we're exporting the primary storage key. So that's the name of what we're going to output, I suppose, like a key value pair. Yeah, exactly. We got our key value there, which is in the export. Export registers a key and value pair with the current context stuck. So we're going to be calling it primary storage key. And all of this stuff is the value, so the output. So Pulumi.all, so it looks like effectively what it's doing, yeah, is it's going to effectively get the output of what's being created. So it's going to get by the resource group name and the storage account name there. And then effectively it's going to look for the output here, which is what this bit is doing, is trying to find the storage account key programmatically, and then it'll return that account key then, the first one of those in particular. So there we go, resource group name arg0.string, because it's passing in the args from there. Just trying to understand what this bit is doing now. I suppose it's this apply t. Yeah. Apply t transforms the data of the output property using the applier func. Right. So it's doing some kind of transformation, I guess, there as well. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. So return the storage account key there underneath that key value pair. So there's the key and there's our value after we've calculated all of that. Otherwise, if we reach this bit, because obviously we've returned at this point, if we get here, then return nil, that actually, you know, it didn't work for whatever reason, I guess. Okay, that makes some sense. That makes some sense. Any questions, folks, as we're going? Do shout, do put in the chat along the way. Just let me know, because I am trying to keep an eye whilst looking at all of this as well. Right, so let's go to the next bit and deploy the stack. So Pulumi up. Okay, simple enough. New terminal. We're in the right directory there. So Pulumi up. Okay. Oops. Uh-oh. What did I click? I think it just didn't like my command. Oh, my alt and click there. That's why. So used to being on my Mac. Right, here we go. Interesting. So it looks like then this is almost like our Terraform plan or our ARM or Bicep what if here. What it's going to do is going to create this Pulumi stack for us. Excuse me. It's going to create these Azure resources. So this Azure resource group and this Azure storage account there as well. Oh, and it actually did that already. Sorry. So it succeeded. And it took 4 seconds apparently. And there's our diff. That's what actually got created. So there's our random resource group name. There's the SA with that kind of unique ID afterwards as well. And no diagnostic logs. So we can see the configuration. Environment we can see was logged via the CLI. Interesting. So I can see the GitHub owner associated. So this is quite nice. It's almost got this concept of governance built in here, hasn't it? Because you've got your tags here, your description, your project, your runtime. This is quite nice, actually. Activity. This stack hasn't been updated. To update and run these commands. Okay. Right, got it. Fair enough. Okay, so we can integrate with GitHub Actions too. Cool. Let's see if we can get there by the time we're done here today as well. That'll be an interesting one. Right, so let's now go back to Plummy. Oops, do you want to... Oh, sorry, it didn't actually update yet. Oh, okay, right. So, hold on now. Let's just go to my Azure Portal and see that. Because from the UI, I thought it would have done, but maybe that was just like the planned step, to be fair. Doesn't look like there's anything in there, does it? So, let's try that again. Yes. That was it. Yeah, it did say the preview succeeded in a few seconds, to be fair. So there we go. Then it gives us a new update. Right. So that was my bad. I completely didn't read that right. So you can see here now it looks like it's trying to actually go and push the changes. So I'm going to put these side by side. So it's creating that. Doesn't look like we're getting any live updates here on the right. Is it actually working is the question. It looks like it's trying to create that resource group. Nothing in there. So, have I forgotten something? The answer is probably yes. Don't think I need to approve anything here, from what I can see. If anyone has spotted anything obvious that I've done there along the way, please do shout. Okay. So I'm just going to use this time to explore whilst we're waiting for that. So it looks like we've got this concept of organizations here with Pulumi. I didn't check out the pricing model actually of Pulumi. Here we go. Uh-oh. There we go. That's better. Alright, pricing. Okay, nice. So there's the free tier there. Good. So what are credits? Oh. Price for managing one resource for 1 hour. So there's almost this kind of service billing model for managing and using your resources here then. Okay. I'm assuming though that these credits are for the uptime of the resources. So like if I've got an AKS cluster and it's up, you know, I've got it running for the month, then I'm paying a month's worth of credits. Because that seems like a lot of credits per month. Or is it for the actual deployment time? That's what I'm not clear on. Because it says the price for managing one resource for 1 hour. There we go. That's, yeah, here we go. Depends on the number of resources. On the team edition, you receive 100. Yeah. So how did we get 6570 there? So 6570 divided by 9 gives us 730. So then 730 divided by 24 is about 30 days. And then if we divide by the times by, no, I got that wrong, haven't I? Start that again. So we've got 9 resources which are each running. Here we go. I can't use the calculator. This is great. Right. 9 resources times 24. Oh man, what is going on? Right. 9 times 24. What's that? So that's for a day. That's times by a month. Actually, sorry, no, it was right. It was right. I realised what I've done wrong there. That's in credits. You don't need to multiply to get the credits. So, yes. So it is basically for how long you're managing that resource, not for deployment time, in answer to that question earlier. Okay. Okay, that makes some sense. So you can see there, estimated cost of managing those resources. For an AKS cluster, you'd have your, or EKS, you'd have your various resources, sub-resources below that. So I suppose that if I was thinking with my hat on of how to work around this, you've got the option of either having separate resources and having that granularity, or trying to optimize for cost and trying to do sub-resources within a resource, if you can. I wouldn't say people should go that way, but that's kind of what my gut instinct says here anyway. But okay, anyway. Right, so let's go see what's going on. Failed! Cool. Why did you fail? We don't know. We don't know. We're going to close you as well. Cannot unmarshal DNS message. Okay. Transient error, maybe? Always DNS. Unless, is there something strange happening on the authentication? Has that not worked correctly? Let's try that again. And folks, if I've missed anything obvious here, shout please. Otherwise it's going to be quite a boring stream here. Right, running. That one is now creating. So it will be trying to create using the context that I've got. So just out of curiosity, AZ group create -n tamiyagi, something like that. That worked fine. So it's not an auth problem with my CLI. So this almost reminds me a little bit of like Terraform Cloud, and I'm assuming behind the scenes it's storing some kind of state there then. That's what it seems, just based on my initial perceptions here. I seem to be having some issues getting that going there, don't I? Is it the fact that I've capitalized that, maybe? Stranger things. But let's give that a go. It's interesting that I'm not getting any output here. It feels like it's some... I wonder if there's something networking wise that's blocking me. So this is now giving me the warning, I guess, because of the fact I interrupted the... Yeah. The operation, sure. So I've just been looking on the side here. I'm gonna do some of this here as well. Right. I think there might be some kind of Windows subsystem for Linux issue going on here. Okay, well that seemed to resolve. So that doesn't look to be an issue. Let's go into my name server, so... The only thing I might try maybe is something like of course I can't. There we go. Do. Good fun. Got to, isn't it? Oh, it's because I can't type. Wow. Now that's very broke. Yay. Super duper. Oh man. Right, let's think about this here. Oh, I put a 10. Man, I am not firing today, folks. Sorry. Of course it can't resolve anything. It doesn't exist. There we go. Right. Try that again. So, that is now working. As it was anyway, but let's just see if there was something about my DNS being in the way that was causing an issue. So, Pulumi up. Yes. It was some my DNS. Look at that. Created straight away. Bizarre. I'll need to go and explore what was blocking that. I guess there was something, my router thinking something bad going on. There we go. Right. Dev. Activity. And the update succeeded. Timeline. Okay. You get to see resources. Nice. You get to see the outputs. Okay. Oops. Timeline. SA. Okay. Well, that's good. It doesn't seem to display the keys there for us. I know we can get them, but it doesn't seem to just display them there from what I can see, because it's got the timestamps. They were created rather than anything. Okay. Cool. Good. So, now what do we do? And then we can go and get the output if we like. Again, it's a storage account that I'm going to completely chuck away. There we go. Sweet. Okay. Oh, and it did output it there as well, actually. A bit like ARM there if you've got your outputs. So what I'm going to do, just to confuse things, is I'm going to rotate that key. Manually. Okay. Now that won't work if anyone tries to connect to the storage account anymore. But at this point, this is outdated compared to Azure. So if I run that again, still the old one. If I run Plummy refresh, interesting. Look at that there. It can spot that there's a diff to the key creation time. But it didn't update with the new key there, I don't think. No, it's still... If I refresh again... Okay, yeah. So if I just manually... Yeah, so it hasn't updated the key. I guess because when I refresh, I need to do some kind of export again. Okay, but at least it was able to detect the key had rotated, so that is interesting. That's one to come back to there. Okay, good. So using the Plummy service backend, you can follow the view live link here. We've done that. Okay, and then we could go ahead send up a static website, all of that cool stuff. In fact, let's do that. You can enable static website support, upload to storage. Yeah, fine. Okay, so we're just going to run that. So it just creates our index.html. Add the following right after the storage account creation. I'll go back and have a look over all of this in a sec. Okay, so what's going on here? So static website is a variable which we are declaring, as well as the error. That's one of the nice things about Go, is you can return multiple things at once from a function. So we're creating a new storage account website underneath that storage object from earlier. Sorry, no, it's the storage SDK, I should say. So we're passing in the context of the Pulumi context we got running. We're going to call it static website, which I don't think you give it a name anyway in storage accounts. And then at storage account static website args, we're passing in the account name, the resource group name, and the index document. Fine. That's index.html. So we're not passing in the document. That's just a string. When you configure a static website in Azure Storage, you say what you want your index page to be. So we're saying we want it to be an index.html page. If there's an error, return it and then upload the file. This convention here is basically saying we don't care about the value that's returned, so just leave it nil, blank, we don't care, throw it away. But we will catch the error, or not catch the error, that's probably a misleading term. We will assign the error to a variable, and then we'll output that later. But we're uploading that file to this resource group, the account name here, the container here, etc. That's going to be the asset, and it's pulling it from there. Got it. So that's interesting. Plummy.new file asset, and content type is that. And then go and export that endpoint. So again, we're going to capture that key value pair. So, expected declaration. Ah, yes, of course. Of course. There we go. Better. Right. Undeclared name. CTX. Because, once again, this all needs to be there like that. There like that. Of course, Chris. There we go. Better. Context is a very important thing. So, got that all now in the correct boundaries there. So, I'm assuming we would run Pulumi up again, but let's just see what the tutorial is telling us. Deploy the changes. Pulumi up. Interesting. Now we're trying to redeploy it rather than refresh. It's actually trying to update that key. And then it's telling us what it would go and output as well as the endpoint. It's pretty cool. Let's perform the update. Let's do it. It does worry me that it's giving me secret materials just outputted though, but I guess that's because we exported it here, so real world you probably, well, not probably, you wouldn't do that. Because there's so many ways that could go wrong, you know, if you were running that in a CI/CD pipeline and exporting that into GitHub Actions or something. Just leaked your key out, haven't you? So you wouldn't want to do that. Okay. So let's jump back. Okay, choosing yes will deploy. That's nice. Okay, I like that. Curl The output of our Pulumi stack output. Yeah, fine. I like that. That's nice. Because I can't copy and paste again. There we go. Fine. Good. And then destroy the stack. Pulumi destroy. Okay. So then I assume that will get rid of any states that we have as well. It's going to ask me for confirmation. Good. If we look for details on that, that's the detailed view. And we'll say yes. Bye-bye all of our data in our storage account at that point. So of course, my question here would be, how does role-based access work in Pulumi? In the tier that I'm in, the free tier, doesn't matter. But in these tiers, that would be where I am particularly interested, actually. Ah. Interesting. Very similar to Terraform in that sense then. So you can push the state to somewhere else. Okay. I suppose the reasons why someone might want to use their own stack is if they didn't trust Pulumi for like handling keys and things like that potentially, but I don't know. The complexity of managing state with these types of things, like with Terraform, for example, it does introduce some complexities, which can be a challenge, so something you gotta weigh up there. Okay. So, oh, that's interesting. There's converters. Nice, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so the thing that I'm interested in now is there a reference of some sort. Docs, cloud providers, Azure Native. And API docs. I'm going to go for one of my favorite things. Are you here? Maybe it's under apps. Maybe it's under compute. Static web apps. Are you there? Container instances, container registry, container service, no container apps. Static. There we go, static site. There it is, under web. Okay, cool. And we got a nice example there as well. And there we go, okay. So you could realistically pass in your repository name, create it pragmatically, pull in your code, deploy that code. So you could have some Pulumi code stored alongside your static web app in that repository, get it to reference itself, deploy. Interesting. Which then my next question would be, I wouldn't want repository tokens in my code. So what are the good practices of passing that in? I suppose because it's Go, just like it would be .NET or something else, you could go and use some kind of secret provider to go and manage that. Bring it in from like a key vault or something, use the Azure SDKs, that could work. Interesting idea. Interesting idea. Is there also a GitHub provider? In fact, let's just look through what providers we've got. So Avon, Akamai, Alibaba, Amazon EKS, Artifactory, Auth0, AWS Gateway, Classic, lots of various AWS packages, Azure AD, nice. Azure Classic and Azure Native. I mean, it directed me to Azure Native, didn't it? But curious what Classic is. Cert Manager, Checkly, Civo, Console, Databricks, Datadog, DigitalOcean, DNS Simple, Docker, Equinix Metal. GitHub, there we go, that's what I was looking for. Interesting. So you could create your repo, create a token dynamically, I guess, in your API docs. Action secret, here we go. Just thinking, what would that be? No, we'd want a GitHub token, wouldn't we? Yeah. But I'm sure there'll be a way to be able to pull some of those tokens and pieces out. There's our inputs. Outputs, okay. So I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? The idea of being able to write your infrastructure as code in this native language that you're used to is interesting. I was originally not sold on the idea, but actually having just been able to explain it the way I had, in fact I've been using Go for a few weeks and being able to pick it up like that, I see the value and I see the potential behind it. The thing that I still worry about is the idempotent side, but I guess you have to trust in the framework that it will go and do that for you. Okay, interesting. So then, how do we create these new stacks is the question. Yeah. Right. Stacks. Okay. Right, okay. Right, so a stack isn't tied to a particular deployment, it's kind of an all-up concept. Is, I think, what I took away from that explanation. Yeah, as in it's scoped, you've got to be fully specific with the name there. Okay. Right. Yeah, there you go. Okay. 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 I need to get some more depth into these stacks and what they are and how they kind of hang together here. You know, is a stack tied to a particular project, or if I've got like the scenario I'm thinking of, to be really explicit, is like I've got a system built of like 20 microservices. Is that 20 stacks or is that one stack? And how does that work? That's what I need to get my head around here. I haven't quite got that. Ah, here we go. There we go. I think that is kind of what I'm thinking of here. So you could get the outputs from other stacks, for example, if you needed. Which again raises my questions around role-based access control, how you actually get access to those things, etc. That is what I would then need to understand a bit more around. But interesting idea. Backend service, yep, something like Pulumi, self-managed, of course, again similar to HashiCorp, with Terraform Cloud. Right. Inputs and outputs. Yep. So we used the all method earlier. Configuration. Okay, that's about setting those config files. Quite why you would do it that way rather than edit the YAML file yourself. Yeah, exactly. Typically can ignore this file. Or could you edit the file directly? Is that a bad thing to do? Like when you run that command, does it call an API or something? I assume it's just writing to the YAML file. Okay, secrets. So there is the concept of a secret. Cool. Obviously, it's the chicken and egg scenario as always. You've somehow got to get that secret in there to then have that first. Ah, there we go. They talk about encryption providers, Key Vault, of course, HashiCorp Vault, Google Cloud KMS, and AWS KMS as well. Okay, that makes some sense. Yeah, fine. Okay. This is what I'm interested in actually. File asset, string asset, remote asset. What if I have like a folder? Right. There we go, yeah. Asset archive. Interesting. Interesting. So I mean, I know we haven't got super duper far, but what we have done here is we've deployed that basic sample using Go, using Plummy, and deployed that resource into Azure. We've now deleted it, of course, as well. I might do a separate one on this. I'd love to expand on this and maybe try and take something like my Cloud with Chris repo, create a dummy repository for that in GitHub, push that code up to GitHub, and deploy the infrastructure for a static web app or something similar. I'm just really curious about this. So something a little more end to end, but this one has kind of got my head around Pulumi and how you'd kind of interact with Go, etc., to actually go and get this working. So it makes some sense. I'm intrigued to play more with this. I am intrigued. So I think that's it really for this particular episode here. You know what to do. If you like the content, please hit please hit like. That is the word I was trying to say. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. I am slowly approaching the 900 subscribers on YouTube, which means I'm very near the target for getting to 1,000, which would be awesome. Likewise, I have written some blog posts recently around Dapper and running Dapper locally with .NET. Also setting up your Go development environment with Visual Studio Code and Windows Subsystem for Linux as well. So if you're interested, head to www.cloudwithchris.com, go and check those out. And of course, as usual, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will be sure to catch you very soon. But all there is to say is thanks for tuning in, and bye for now.